Hey everyone, Catherine Carter here from the Westminster Center, and today I want to share a little bit with you about how to choose a good therapist. Well, therapy can be tremendously beneficial to our mental health, but getting started can be a little bit tricky. So today I want to give you a couple of tips and some wisdom on how to find a good fit for your particular issues and personality. So, the first thing you're going to want to do is take a look at websites like Psychology Today and goodtherapy.org. Now, both of those websites have over, oh my gosh, several thousand therapists listed on them. But what you're going to do is get really good at using their filters. So you're going to begin by thinking about what type of therapist you would like to work with. This is going to include things like their age, their gender, the types of therapy that they use, the different modalities. You're also going to want to ask yourself whether you want to do therapy in person or online, because not all therapists do both. Once you figure out the type of therapist that you're looking for, you're going to use the filters to make your selections. And then that website is going to spit out like a list of people who fit what you've filtered for. Now you've got some people to call, but what you want to do next is really read through the profiles of the therapists that they send you to. Because as you read through, you're going to find a connection in your insides. You're going to feel drawn probably to a couple of them more than the others. It could be because of the way they wrote their profile. Maybe you're drawn to their warm smile, or maybe they even have an introduction video and you really like their personality. Pay attention to all of those things because they're cues that are telling you that you may feel safe working with this person. Once you've identified, let's say, 3 or 4 good candidates, these are people that you think might work for you, you're going to want to do what we call an initial intake or consultation call with each of those therapists. And yes, I did say each of those therapists, so be prepared to make a couple of phone calls. Because here's the thing. It is not one size fits all when it comes to therapists. They have different personalities, they have different levels of experience, and some of them you're going to click with and some of them you're not. And that's okay. In fact, therapists themselves are not offended if you try them out, maybe do an intake or consultation call with them, and then realize, maybe you're not the best fit for me. We don't take it personally. We want you to find someone that you feel good about seeing because you are more likely to build a better therapeutic bond with them and feel safer as you share and work through your issues. So pay attention to that little voice that says, I think I might like to work with this person. Now, when you're in those initial calls and you're meeting those therapists for the first time over the phone, I want you to pay attention to things like their rate of speech, the tone of their voice, whether or not they ask you questions, how good are they at answering the questions you have, right? All of these things can be indicators of the type of therapy you would be receiving from them. Now, if they make a good impression with you over the phone, it's time to take the next step and schedule a session. Now, listen, you can only do that with one therapist at a time because more than one therapist can't have you on their roll. They can't have you on their client list at the same time because we call that a conflict of interest. However, you can try one, see how it goes, and after that initial session, if you are feeling like, you know what, they just weren't what I thought, it didn't go well, it was super duper awkward, then you might want to move on to interviewing or having a first session with another therapist. Here's the thing though, you got to be really careful that you are understanding what's happening inside of you when you meet with that therapist. Realize that it's going to be a little bit awkward with every therapist because meeting someone for the first time, getting to know them, and especially coming to them with a need can be very humbling and a very vulnerable experience. So if you start to feel a little bit uncomfortable, that's not necessarily a sign that they're the wrong therapist for you. If you feel a certain measure of comfort and safety with them, I would suggest that you give it 2 to 3 sessions before you quit on them, just to see how the relationship progresses. Because by the second or third session, your anxiety should be coming way down. That's how you'll know that this is a good fit for you. Now, if after the second or third session, or even the first session, you're like, this really is not a good fit for me, trust your instincts, go with your gut. But if you find that every therapist, you go through a list of 10 and none of them are working for you, it might have more to do with what's happening for you internally and your anxiety about meeting a therapist than the therapists themselves. So just take that with a grain of salt and think about what's happening for me inside whenever you go to meet them. Now, hopefully, you're going to connect with one of those therapists that you've interviewed, and you're going to begin seeing them, and it will be the beginning of a long and healthy therapeutic relationship that brings breakthrough and change in your life, just as you hoped at the very beginning. Well, these are just a few pointers on how to get started with a good fit in therapy. So, in summary, don't forget, it is really important to know what your preferences are and filter as you search for therapists using those different characteristics that you've identified would be helpful to you. Then make sure you do those initial calls with each of those therapists to hold an interview, basically, and ask them more about themselves and tell them a little bit about what's happening with you so that you guys can both figure out together if you'd be a good fit for working together. Finally, as you begin working with them, remember that a certain level of discomfort is going to be there, but you should know by the second or third session whether or not this is someone to continue working with. I hope this has been helpful to you today. Don't forget, in your search for a therapist, we do have availability at Westminster Center in Pasadena. We do offer individual, couples, and family therapy at an affordable fee. We would love to speak with you, and to get that process started, please visit us at westminstercenter.org. Thanks so much for joining me today. We'll see you soon.